Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Jeff.
Hello. It's a big, big game this weekend.
It's
Man,
down in Eugene.
I had
the
to get my
division
brain right
on the
again.
line.
I had to get my brain right again because I've been so focused on basketball. Like, there's an actual football game.
Yeah,
A big
I know.
football
They're
game.
interrupting our basketball season with a football game.
Jeez, man.
And I guess
The
we gotta
audacity.
preview it. I guess people care about football.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Like, when we started the year, we just figured we were biding our time until basketball season. Like, you know, by this time, basketball season would start. Football would be, you know, irrelevant. And, you know, we would just move on. And that is not the case. They are very much relevant at this point.
And speaking of relevance or irrelevance, depending on what you think, this is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 146. I'm Craig Powers. With me is Jeff Newser. And
hello.
This is our preview for WSU's game against college football ranked number 3, Oregon. And, of course, there are stakes for WSU in this one. WSU controls its own destiny for the Pac-12 North title and the Rose Bowl. And, of course, outsiders would say this is the toughest obstacle. Now, maybe insiders would say there's another obstacle that seems a lot tougher because of history, but this is the best team left on the schedule. A very good team, the Oregon Ducks. Maybe not number 3 in the country, but hey, they've won the games except for that really bad loss.
Except for that one that everybody seems to just be ignoring.
They have perhaps one of the best wins, you know, and that's why they're number 3. They also, among those teams, definitely the worst loss, especially the way Stanford is going. Not a great loss, but it seems if Oregon wins out, they're going to be there. So the funny thing has been watching all the Oregon fans who are very nervous about playing Washington State with so much on the line.
Yep.
They're scared. Like they've been hurt by us in the past. And it's
as
really
they should
funny.
be.
This Oregon fans just don't seem confident about this. No matter what the numbers say, what the rankings are, they are quite worried, and that's pretty funny. You know, it's funny to be that bad guy for someone. Just be the boogeyman.
Yeah,
Washington State.
I know, because I mean, we talk about the Cal bullshit, and apparently we are that for a team like Oregon, which by all measure has been much better than us over the years in recruiting and all sorts of measures that we typically pay attention to when we're trying to decide how good a team actually is. And Mike Leach seemed to have their number, and then last year Nick Rolovich had their number for about 28 minutes, and then obviously it went south after that. But for whatever reason, man, when you look at the numbers and you try and figure out, I mean, what we could do or what we might be able to do or what Oregon might do that might give us trouble. It's like, for some reason, we always seem to like do something better than what it seems like we ought to be able to do,
Yeah, even the 2019 loss, it felt like, I remember previewing that game and being like, it's just, even with WSU's offense, this is just such a bad matchup. It's not going to work well. And they should have won that game. They had some random crap that had, a drop touchdown that turned into an interception, things like that. Oregon needed a last-second field goal to win after WSU didn't waste as much time as it could have done scoring, So it took a lot of random stuff for them to lose. And you would have thought it would be the other way around. But here we are again. This is a game that objectively, after we preview it, we're not going to feel super good about it, but still you're going to have this thing at the back of your mind that's WSU's playing Oregon, and WSU loves playing Oregon. So I guess what we could start with is WSU's offense against Oregon's defense. So
yeah,
Jeff,
go ahead.
I was going to say, so obviously with Sewell and Kayvon Thibodeau, Oregon's got some real impressive dudes in the front seven. But on the whole, Oregon's defense doesn't look honestly that impressive, which I was a bit surprised to see in previewing them.
Yeah, they are not a super intimidating group. Obviously, they have Thibodeau, who's very, very good, probably a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, this spring. Super talented player. They've got some talented guys, but they're definitely not a dominating unit. They are prone to giving up some drives at some times, giving up some explosives at some times. They're not a lockdown group. They do, complement their offense pretty well. We talk a lot about how, it's a good idea if your both sides of the ball sort of complement each other, philosophically. They are physical, and they do try to kind of bloody you up a little bit. But it's something you mentioned in your preview is that they don't generate as much havoc as you think they might, given, the talent that they seem to have over there. It just seems like there's an emphasis on just sort of being sound, not taking too many chances, and really forcing a team to be tough enough to get, all the way down, to the goal line on them. And, and then letting their offense really just sort of control the tempo. So, not a super scary unit. Seems like their pass defense, presuming you can keep, Delora upright, seems like, there might be some hay there to make with the passing game, and also provided that you don't get yourself in, second and long, third and long by trying to run the ball too much on early downs.
Yeah, and in terms of keeping Delora upright, it's not like Oregon they don't have a ton of sacks. They get like 2 a game. And like you said, you mentioned the havoc rate. They're in the 80s ranked in havoc rate, and that's with being one of the top turnover forcing teams in the country. So they've forced 17 turnovers, which is up near the top, around top 10-ish area. A lot of interceptions, 12 interceptions. So then maybe that's like a product of not necessarily getting sacks, but getting pressure. But one thing that makes me feel better about that, obviously Jaden throws picks, and that's been a challenge, obviously. But he doesn't throw that many, honestly. Like he makes like one bonehead decision a game, and then he seems to getting better and better at that. The pick against ASU was not really his fault. But if he can avoid those, and Jaden's very good at avoiding sacks, he's very good at staying upright, as you said, and he's getting better at not only staying upright, but then finding people downfield or finding the right play to make. He's getting better and better at that. And 2 weeks off, I got to think he's going to be healthier, and he's going to be able to move even more than he did 2 weeks ago. So that's encouraging. And really, just Jaden's been playing better and better. We know that, There's bound to be a lull. We thought maybe BYU was that lull. I don't, it's gonna be interesting to see if Oregon plays. ASU didn't really play that drop 8 type defense against like that BYU did, and WSU was once again able to generate big plays downfield. I can't tell you if Oregon's going to play that way or not. If they don't, which they haven't in the past, they never really treated the air raid like that. So if they don't, if they just play regular straight up defense, I could see WSU getting big plays against this defense. The big thing is that what I think helps Oregon's EPA in both pass and rush and overall is that just like what helps WSU's defensive EPA when they give up terrible success rates is they turn the ball over. So if you avoid that, you avoid negative plays. Like you said, don't run into the middle of the line for the hell of it on first and second down, because Oregon loves it when teams do that. That's their biggest strength. Yep. Is first and second down. They love those early downs. They love getting the stuff there. So, mix it up. I still think they can run the ball a bit on them. Like they're not stout against the run or anything.
Yep.
They're 71st in defensive success rate against the run, 78th against the pass. So you can move the chains against these guys, and then if you avoid turnovers, you can cash it in. So that's really what they need to do. WSU needs to take care of the ball. There's going to be plays there to make, and hopefully Jaden can avoid sacks. The offensive line can hold up, and hopefully the offensive line can get some push in the run game. They've seemed to have gelled. They've gotten better. They're getting tons of praise from the coaching staff. Hopefully that doesn't go to their head, whatever. But they've definitely played better. Also helps having a quarterback who doesn't stand there like a statue, obviously. That makes them look better. But yeah, overall, Max can make some plays. It's going to be interesting to see, because Oregon's defense is probably going to be tough for him to bounce to the outside on. Very athletic, much like it's hard to bounce the outside on WSU's defense. Well, take all those guys that WSU has and add 20 pounds and 2 inches, but they're still running the same speed. So that's what Oregon's got. So I'll see. It'll be interesting to see if Max can break out against them, given that he likes to bounce the ball outside and beat teams to the corner. That may be harder against Oregon. So we may see Dion have a little bit more success pounding the ball up the middle, taking that straightforward hole and picking up the 6 or 7 that'll probably be there at times. So I feel pretty good. CFB Graphs' advanced stat preview only has us at 15 points, and Bill Connolly's has us at 23 points, but I think like they could outperform Bill Connolly's. Because honestly, this offense is playing better. A lot of the offensive numbers have been weighed down by what they did at the start of the season,
right?
Where Jaden was either parting there, Jaden was still figuring it out. There's a whole game and a half of Garantano in there. Like, so it's hard to take all those. There's a grain of salt you have to take with our offensive stats. So I'm feeling pretty good, and I think this offense right now is like a top 30-ish offense. So I think they can put up points on a top, around 50, top 40, 50 defense.
Yeah, the game seems tailor-made for Deion McIntosh to me. Just straight ahead, don't dork around, not, Max has a tendency, like you said, to try to bounce it out. He's looking for a big play. Oregon's not a team that you want to be, hunting a big play. You want to grind them. You want to be physical with them. Basically, what about physical teams is, okay, if a team wants to play physical, then you've got to be physical back. Like, you've got to be physical back at them. You've got to take that challenge, and you've got to just kind of go at them. Deion McIntosh seems like, the to me would be the preferred weapon of choice, especially if you've decided that you're going to run it on early downs. Jake Dickert had an interview this week where he intimated that he was, which should not be a shock because he's a defensive coach, but intimated that he was, trying to nudge his offensive coordinator even more toward running. Again, not a shock, but also, you want to be careful to not get yourself in situations where, you're putting yourself in, obvious passing downs. That's what you want to try to avoid. So, it'll be interesting to see how they mix it up and kind of how the offense is evolving. Again, under Dickert being the head coach and under Smith kind of having his full control over the defense or over the offense. I mean, as the play caller, and offensive coordinator. Very interesting to see kind of how they're going to evolve and take on a team that, in a lot of ways is very similar to Arizona State, but is also, a better version of that.
Yeah, I think a little bit better version. Obviously, a version that has executed a lot more than Arizona State has. I hope we see them put up points. I'd feel really good if they were able to. It shows them that they're on that track that we think they are. If they can, put up 28, even 28, 24, 28, 31 points against Oregon.
Yep.
That would make me feel pretty good. Which other teams, Stanford put up points on Oregon, whatever. So it's not like it's impossible or anything. Don't think UW or Oregon's defense is great because of what they did against UW. Because everyone has done that to UW. So I feel good. I just make good decisions, Jaden. Look for those. Just take the yardage that Oregon gives you, and then wait for that thing to pop. I think that it'll happen eventually. I think they'll be able to get a couple big plays in this at least, and then just other times churn that clock, grind. Take those 5 yards that Oregon's going to give you and live to see the next first down and keep a drive alive because, take that 5 yard out or whatever, as much as that pains me sometimes seeing them throw those all the time. But, if it's there, take it and live to see the next down because Oregon thrives on getting that pass breakup or getting that stuffed run on first and second down and putting you behind the chains. So, I feel good that they'll be able to do that. And I'm hopeful that they will be able to do that because I think limiting the number of possessions in this game will be to WSU's benefit. Yeah.
And I think that, barring turnovers, which, jack up the number of drives, number of possessions, I think there's a pretty good chance that that's what it comes down to for sure.
All right. Well, now that we've talked about WSU's offense, let's talk about WSU's defense against Oregon's offense. This is a much scarier side of things, particular because of Oregon's ground game, which is 4th in EPA per rush and 12th in rushing success rate. Very good stuff. They've just been able. They lost Verdell. And they've still been able to run the ball. Obviously, it's with Travis Dye he's taken over and he's done well. Like he ran for 200 yards against UW, 8 yards a carry, right up the gut. That's what got me worried because we talked about a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was after the Arizona State game. Maybe it's these type of spread running attacks we do okay against. Because we got fast guys, they're trying to go off tackle more, all that stuff. But Oregon against UW was just handing that ball right up the middle with Dye, and he was picking up chunks and chunks and chunks, 5, 6 yards, 8 yards, and he busted like a 50-yard run on like a 3rd down and 1. So it's that has me worried. And then on top of that, Anthony Brown, for all the ire that Duck fans have thrown at him, very good rushing quarterback in the read option, scrambling, designed runs. He's big, he's athletic, tough to bring down. He's a pretty scary guy when you put the two of them together. If they and that's just it's going to be a tough running attack to stop.
Yep. It's funny. A couple of years ago, it felt like, Dye was a, just basically a nice change of pace guy, right? Like, he's a little smaller, a little shiftier. You bring him in, he's faster. He gets to the edges. He might make you miss, might bust a big play. But he also didn't, he didn't really fit the mold of what, it seemed like Mario Cristobal was looking for, right? Tough guy. He'll hit you hard. He's tough to tackle. Over the last 2 years, he has really developed that. He is a much tougher dude to bring down now than he was a year or two ago. And as much as, it felt like, oh man, CJ Verdell's there, it's that sledgehammer and, really integral to their success. There's a pretty strong argument to be made that actually the better back is now the one who's carrying the load, which is always kind of a bummer. When you're the team getting ready to face them, it's like, oh man, they lucked into the better guy. So it seems like that might be the case right now with them. I mean, Dye is fast and he's still explosive, but he'll also get some of those hard yards that it seemed like he couldn't really get a couple of years ago. So he is definitely a tough matchup.
And what he has over Verdell as well is the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yep. He's an excellent pass catcher.
He's very good pass catching running back. So he's he's got to be up there with possibly first team All Pac-12 right now, and he wasn't the starter beginning of the season. Yep. He's got over 1,000 yards from scrimmage with his rushing and pass catching and like 12 touchdowns. So he's a scary guy. So with Oregon's kind of success running the ball, they run it 58% of the time on early downs, which is a pretty high number. It's 95th. Yeah. So 95th meaning number 1 is the lowest, and 95th is higher. It's because WSU's 13th in that they only rush the ball on early downs 44% of the time. So they've been able to use that ground game to put themselves in a really good third and fourth downs. They are insane, almost 54% success rate on third and fourth downs, fourth nationally. That's nuts. That's tough. And it's not necessarily they're not explosive on first and second down. They just grind it. They get
I mean, if you can pick up 5. Yeah. Right. If you can pick up 5 or 6 on first down, that makes it tough. It makes it really, really tough.
Yeah. Even if you get stuffed for, on second, you're still sitting in a good position. So that's key. And that's what's also hard is, so what WSU, obviously we'd say, you need to shut down those early runs. Early down runs to get them into passing situations because they're much worse. EPA per pass 54th. Their passing down success rate is at worse than average. They're nothing special passing the ball, but they're only stuffed behind the line of scrimmage less than 12% of the time, which is 9th best nationally. So they're really it's tough to get those 0 or negative yardage runs on them early in the downs because they just don't take them very often. And that's what WSU needs is to get them into these second and third longs where Anthony Brown now has to throw the ball. Now, I don't think Anthony Brown is as bad as a passer as Oregon fans want to say he is. I mean, he's Justin Herbert's final season, he was 8.1 yards per attempt. Brown's at 7.9 right now. He's only thrown 4 picks. He takes care of the ball pretty well. He does, if you watch him, he does miss some throws. He's probably they have a pretty good receiving core that he's probably underutilizing a bit. So I see that's where the frustration, they probably just see plays that he could be making that he's not making, but he's still steady enough given that ground game to keep them going. But he is, it is the weakness. If you can get them in a place where they have to throw the ball, that's better. They're not terrible at throwing the ball, but they're not great. That
right.
Like they're, it's manageable, especially given that WSU is much better against the pass than they are against the run. So that's what you just got to hope for, that WSU can buck a trend and some drives just stuff them anyway and get them in those passing situations where their pass rushers and their back four can thrive, and then because the alternative is you're going to need turnovers again, in which they do lead the country in takeaways. So
yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, where we have at times maybe not dismissed might be a little too strong, but poo-pooed, the takeaways and the sustainability of said takeaways. But the honest truth is, we do take the ball away. We do seem to have an ability to get the ball out. The one thing I know about Oregon, or at least I believe about Oregon, is they're pretty well coached. They're sound fundamentally. They at the risk of sounding like they play the game the right way guy. They will rarely beat themselves, I guess, is kind of the way I'm thinking about it. And some of that comes from, being a team that runs the ball early and often. There's just, less opportunity for, bad things to happen. Right. So, I want to sit here and think that our defense they are really in trouble. Right? Our tackles are small. It's like we go, okay, there's every reason in the world to think that Oregon will run up and down the field on us. And yet, there was every reason to think that Arizona State would do that. There was every reason to think that Oregon State would do that. And, Oregon State, when you look at the numbers in the end, of course, the numbers didn't look great. But, so much like 90 yards of that was 2 plays on one very, very bad drive. And I know those count all the same, but the reason why Oregon State, struggled so much in that game was because they couldn't get, for the most part, a consistent rushing attack. Arizona State couldn't get a consistent rushing attack. What we're doing up front right now, I'm certainly no coach, and I don't know exactly, the schemes and what we're doing, but it does remind me a ton of those really successful Alex Grinch defenses where, guys were just, it was one gap, get upfield, disrupt the play, string it out, let your fast, linebackers and your nickel guy rally to the ball, and get some tackles that way. Everything says Oregon should run up and down the field on us. And yet there's a part of me that just wonders, can this team play above their heads again? Have they sort of figured some things out about how they can be successful, with the guys that they've got? And, I didn't even mention Cal, shutting down Cal, John Wilner's favorite team, the best team in the Pac-12 that has been screwed so bad by COVID. It just seems like somehow we're figuring something out that is beyond our, beyond what we would sort of conclude based off of the personnel. And maybe that comes again this week. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't write them off. I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, exactly. It's the thing. This team is hard to figure out, as we've said. We still don't actually know who they are, and they're kind of leaning towards that they're pretty good at this point. And maybe they just had a real shitty start to the season because there was a lot of shitty stuff going on around them,
Yep.
And they, and their quarterback was either injured or not playing, and so maybe that all impacted. Maybe these guys are just better than we're so having a hard time giving them credit for, just because we're big data guys and we're all this stuff, and we're always trying to mitigate what we see because we know what happened earlier in the season, but it's so hard to wrap your mind around. That's why it was so hard for us to, when the ASU game was going on, what the hell? Even when they weren't taking the ball away, they were dominating ASU. It was just wild. It was so wild. And so exactly in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know, if I'm just analyzing this without that context, I mean, well, yeah, Oregon's gonna win easily, and Oregon's offense is just going to run roughshod on WSU's defense. But guess what? Like Cal's defense is 92nd in EPA per play for a rush and 32nd against the pass, pretty similar to WSU's. And what Cal and Oregon didn't score much on Cal at all. What was it? 24 points.
Yep.
So it's college football, right? And maybe Oregon's offensive success. You know, they put up 454 yards, but they also lost 2 fumbles. You know, so that leads us back to this team has forced 17 fumbles this year. Like it's wild, it's weird, whatever.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. But like it's one thing. Yeah, fumble recoveries are one thing, and they have recovered, I think, 11 of those. So that's a bit over average, obviously. But still, like they forced more fumbles than any team in the country. Like,
yeah,
that it's something they do. They do it all the time. Like, it's wild. Like, so maybe they're going to take the ball away from Oregon a couple times. Maybe they're going to strip Brown on one of his runs. You know, he's a little cavalier with the ball. Maybe they'll rip it out of Dye's hands. Maybe, you know, I don't know. Like, maybe they've been stripping wide receivers a lot. It's wild. Yeah. Like, you just got to think that, you know, they get about 2 forced fumbles a game. There's got to be a couple, right? Like, you know,
I mean, we're 9 games into the season. Like, at some point, you and I have to say, it is what it is. Like, it's, you know, it's as much as we want to say, okay, the data suggests this and that. Like, I mean, there's 3 games left. We're 9 games in. Like, this is what they are.
Yeah, you are who you are at this point, right? And so yeah, and so that's what they need. They need those. They need this to happen. They need the turnovers. Like that's the teams that have stopped Oregon have taken the ball away. They need the turnovers, and they have shown that they can do that. So if you want to win this game, you're going to have to take the ball away a couple times more than they take the ball away from you. That's kind of where it is. You're not only are you on the road, not only are you playing a better team, like your defense is outmatched a bit. They're matching up against your weakness. Their strength is matching up against your weakness. You need to take the ball away. So hopefully they can do that. You know, obviously if Oregon's running the ball a bunch, there's plenty of chances to rip that ball out. So do it. And I think if they get a couple turnovers, they can hold Oregon's offense down enough to where WSU's offense could win this game. So that's what you're looking for. It's a hard thing to predict or bet on or anything, just hoping that a team will get turnovers. But that's what you have to hope for. And you know, fingers crossed, you know, let's go shock the world at 11 o'clock, you know, 2 a.m. Eastern.
That's right. Like 90% of the country will wake up Sunday morning going, hey, how about that?
I guess now after we say all that, we got to get to predictions, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right. So, Jeff, give me your first half score.
Oh, man, this is tough. Like, so I've been sitting here during this. So, you know, we're 30 minutes deep on this sucker at this point. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, what am I going to say for the prediction? Like, you know, there's the place where my mind is, and there's the place where, you know, where maybe reality might be. But you know, at this point, I want to lean into where my mind's at, which is, you know, we got a shot here. Yeah. So, I'm going to say, okay, first half, you know, a little cagey. I'm thinking neither team maybe gets out of the gate super hot. I'm thinking like 14-10 Oregon.
Okay. So, yeah, I definitely think I'm feeling a little bit of a hangover for Oregon after quite an emotional week. You know, they're playing their true rival or whatever. They've been focused on them quite a bit. They're obviously in their mind. So I'm gonna flip your score, because what I was thinking is WSU kind of jumps on that, takes an early lead. So 14-10 WSU.
Ooh, I like that. I like that very much.
Okay, Jeff. Now that we know your first half score of 14-10 Oregon, how does this thing play out in the end?
Yeah. Here's the thing I know for sure, and this is probably the kiss of death, but here's the thing I know for sure. The spread is way too big. So the line right now is somewhere around 14 points. Yep. 2 touchdowns to Oregon seems crazy pants to me. Given the fact that WSU seems to play well against Oregon, given the fact that Oregon does not seem capable of blowing anybody out right now for whatever reason.
Yep.
You put all that together, and I think this game is close. Now, I do think Oregon's the better team. As much as I think we have a shot to win, if you're asking me to pick, right, like if it's 51% to Oregon, then you're picking Oregon, right? Because it's a binary situation. Yep. So, I'd say, Oregon, I think Oregon's going to win. I think it's going to be, I think WSU is going to be within striking distance the entire game. I'm looking for something in the touchdown or less range. So I'm thinking at the end, maybe something like 31-27 Oregon.
All right. So yeah, you're quite a second half there. 17-17 in the second half.
That's what I'm thinking.
So yeah, I'm kind of on the same wavelength there. I do also think that the spread is too high here. I think they're once again kind of baking in a lot of early season stuff that that WSU is just not that team anymore. And that we cannot be held liable for what what our transfer quarterback did. So I'm turning into a Tennessee fan. I need to stop. So I'm thinking along the same lines. I'm having a hard time picking WSU in this game. This is such an important game for Oregon, so they're going to be so hyped. I do think they're more talented. They're a better team on both sides of the ball. I do think WSU, same as you, covers. So first half, I said 14-10 WSU. Second half, I'm saying it ends up, quite a lot more scoring in the second half. So I go 31, or actually more scoring for Oregon. So 31-28 Oregon. And so with that, again, folks, when WSU wins, or if WSU wins, and when WSU wins, we want to see at the Craig Powers, that's my Twitter, of course, at Pod versus Everyone, Jeff's Twitter, flooded with the "What an Idiot" Will Ferrell gif. Some people like to throw a curveball in there. That's fine. But just tell us how much we're idiots with those gifs. If WSU wins, nothing makes me happier. The last couple times that has happened. So we both picked Oregon. Tag us both. Tell us how much we're an idiot.
Yep.
When WSU wins. With that, if you have any comments, if you want to send us an email, if WSU wins, you want to send us an email to tell us we're idiots, that's podcast versus everyone at gmail.com. You can, if you want to see, maybe a picture of my daughter's birthday on Instagram this weekend at Craig W. Powers. Jeff and I will be watching together in my living room.
Hell yeah.
I got this, ever since I got this OLED LG TV that everyone told me to get. It's been blowing out my breaker pretty regularly.
Hell yeah!
So hopefully that doesn't happen in an important part. But yeah, we're gonna have some people over watching the game. I don't know how long everyone's gonna stay. I'm sure my friends Marty and Corey will stay till the end.
Yeah, well,
so
I'll be there till the end. You know that.
Yeah, I know you will. So we'll have a nice party after.
My kids will be begging to go home.
No, they won't.
Sarah will be like, "What do we do?" That's true.
I'll set them up with all the little Nintendo crap and
yeah,
they'll be
that's
good to
true.
go.
They'll love that. That's true. They'll love that.
Yeah, so they'll be good. But yeah, it'll be Marty and Corey's kids too. Though everyone will want to go to sleep, and we're like, sorry, there's a game on till 11. That's just how it is.
Sorry, y'all.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. I hope that you and I are sitting there in my living room, probably drunk off some like big fucking stouts and singing the fight song at 11:30 at night.
And refreshing our Twitter to see all of the memes, all of the GIFs.
All the gifts.
Tell us what an idiot
laughing and high fiving while we're doing that. I'm really hoping that's what happens.
That'll be the best.
Because I even though I picked Oregon, I think there's a pretty damn good shot that WSU can win this game. I didn't want to ruin that by picking.
I feel the same way. Like I said, it's okay. So if you think Oregon is 51%, then you're picking Oregon, right? So it's like, okay, Oregon's 51%, but it's 51%, 60%, 65%, whatever percent you want to give it, that's somewhere within 10 to 15% of 50. It means WSU's got a good shot. It's like I don't think anybody. I would be the only outcome that would surprise me is if they got run off the field. Like that's the only thing that would surprise me. I don't think they will, and I think they have a legit shot. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. All right, so. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Get fucking vaccinated.